the recording going. So welcome to How to Maintain a Wonderful Life as Advocates, Supporters, and Healers, Strategies for Social Workers and Other Helping Professionals to Promote Self-Care. So I'm Lisa Kelly. I'm a mental health provider as well as board president of Mental Health Awareness of Michiana, who's sponsoring the event today. And MHAM is a relatively new organization that promotes mental health education, collaboration between providers, and access to mental health care. So today, it was actually 1 year ago at the start of the pandemic that we invited Margaret to do something on self-care. And at that moment in time, at the beginning of the pandemic, it felt very important to have some skills to use to relax and just try and hang in there. And a year later, I'm glad to have you back, Margaret. If you had told me that we would be still dealing with the pandemic a year ago, I'm not sure that your self-care strategies would have helped me a whole lot in anticipation of 1 year of this. But it's Social Work Appreciation Month, and we really, as an organization, do want to thank all of the social workers and helping professionals in the community for everything that you do. And so today, Margaret Jessup is going to be kind of leading us through an hour of activities, mindfulness, talking about how to do self-care. What does that look like? What does it feel like? And the way that we have it structured, there's an hour, and if people need to log off at 1 o'clock, that's fine. But Margaret is doing an extra 15 minutes of meditation for anybody who's interested in staying on for that kind of bonus 15 minutes. There will be an evaluation that will send you a link after today, and your certificates will send you in the afternoon. So if there's any questions, don't hesitate to send me an email at the mha.michiana@gmail.com. So Margaret, I want to introduce you. Margaret Jessup is a local psychologist specializing in anxiety and mood disorders. She's the author of 2 books, Hornet and Hippo Count the Stars, a set of 6 mindfulness-based stories for children ages 4 through 12. And Hornets and Hippos, How to Use Imagination, Mindfulness, and Brain Science to Decrease Fear and Anger and Reach Your Goals. Her most inspiring training came working as a preschool teacher, and she recalls that a group of 12 2-year-olds can teach you almost everything you need to know. Margaret currently offers workshops for both children and adults, and both in-person and virtual school visits for social emotional learning. So Margaret, thank you so much for being here and sharing your time and talents with us.
Well, thank you. And it has been a year. I just can't believe that. And I've in a year spending a lot of time on Zoom and really looking forward to connecting with people in person as things are starting to shift. But I would like to kind of frame today's hour together with an old movie called It's a Wonderful Life. That's what we stole for the title. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that story. We're also going to have a chance to talk about what has influenced us and what kind of hidden influences we may have been providing to others along the way. And we're going to talk about some mindfulness methods, if you want to call it that, and we're going to practice some of them together, both through some movement and then if you decide to stay for the guided meditation. And they're super relaxing if you haven't ever done one before. And you have the time, I would love for you to stay on and be a part of that as well, or to tune into the video and do it on a time that works really well for you. So we will touch on negativity bias, how judgment affects our moods, and also physical stress, because mindfulness is not just about being present to what's going on around us, it's also about being present to what's going on inside of us. So that's a lot. So we're going to jump right in, and we're going to start with a poll that Lisa has set up for us. How many have you seen It's a Wonderful Life? Just so I know what we're dealing with here in our group. I'm hoping there's lots of yeses. And I think I wait a little. I think I wait until we've got most of us answered, and then I end the poll, and then I believe then you get to see the results. But Lisa, tell me if that's not right.
I have to share it.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. It looks like everybody has weighed in. Oh, you did it. Great. Okay, look at that. It's an oldie, but a goodie, right? And I know it's dated, and I know there are probably some references in there that are not 100% up to our new standards of being respectful to others. So I'm going to put that disclaimer out there because it is an older movie. But what was really amazing about the main character, George Bailey, is that he had come to a point in his life where he really thought there was no point of continuing. And for those 5 of you who haven't seen it, it is really truly an inspirational movie, even if it's an oldie. But he came to a point where he couldn't really see a point of continuing, and an angel comes to show him all of these things that he had been involved in throughout his life without really knowing, without really keeping track of. And it really changed, it changed his life completely in the way in which he was experiencing joy and connection with others. And so we're going to get a chance today to explore possibly areas of influence that you may not on a daily basis recognize are a part of your work, and whether or not those people know about the fact that they've been a major influence for you. You know, the kinds of things that he had done that made a difference in the movie It's a Wonderful Life was simple acts of kindness. He saw his brother in distress and he saves him. And then his brother lives this life to help others that saves many, many more. And we don't always grab those moments and put them on our shoulder to say, hey, you've really been doing some lovely, wonderful things all along. And without noticing those things, sometimes our work can become very heavy and not feel as enjoyable as it can be when we figure out ways to take those things and put them out more into our awareness. So we are at this point going to take 12 minutes, and I think this is the right time to go ahead and do our breakout. You're going to get a chance to come into a smaller room with 5 of you, I believe is what we decided. And you're going to each get 2 minutes to just talk a little bit about some of the hidden influences that you've had in your own life, things that have motivated you, have inspired you, and does that person or did those experiences, do they know that they've been an influence over you? They may know, maybe you've been able to stay connected to that person or those people, but maybe they don't know. And so you're going to have a minute or so to pick a timekeeper in the room who will be in charge of telling you each that you have 2 minutes to share. And then there's 1 extra minute in there just for the coordination of it all. So Lisa is going to set up the breakout, and then we're going to come back and talk a little bit about what you discovered. You'll get an opportunity to drop some of those experiences into the chat so that we can all share that with each other. And then we'll go from there.
And it would be good if you could turn on your video.
If you don't mind, then you'll 27 participants listed, and that's what we started with, I think.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, so does this mean we're all back now?
Yes.
Okay. So let's see here, so that I can see our group here. I like to see the group. Okay, so I would love to just take a couple minutes to, in the chat, if you're comfortable, to just share who were some of those hidden influencers, and were they aware of the fact that they were a hidden influencer in your life? Let me just see if we can get it. I don't have a poll set up for this one, but just to, we're trying to get a sense of who knows if they're a hidden influencer to somebody, and whether or not that makes a difference in how we influence others. Let's see if we've got any sharing going on here. Oh, we had a dog. And hopefully we tell our dogs when there are hidden influencers. Parents, and they know, okay. The one group mentioned that many family members and close friends, and yes, they all know, teachers were influencers for sure, as well as supervisors and colleagues. Yep. And do you think those supervisors and colleagues know that they are part of your influences in the background? Not sure. Someone says they're social worker supervisor, not sure she knows how much she meant. Teachers and supervisors, families and friends, coworkers. See, we're all influencing each other. And some of the another one mentioned, one of us mentioned that they don't know that their coworkers are aware. Okay. Let's see, let me drop this chat out. And again, if anything else comes up that you want to share, Lisa and I are going to try to keep checking into the chat so that we can bring your comments into our meeting together as well. So we have another poll question, and this is sort of going to help us tie in our hidden influencers to what kinds of things are interfering with you personally of having a wonderful life in your workplace. So we're going to ask you to pick one thing that keeps you from feeling wonderful at the end of the day at work. And I'm going to write these down for myself too. And you can see there's an other category, so we might have to chat about that if many of you go into that one. So do you get us? Oh, we're at 88%. Okay, we're almost to the whole group. So what do you think, Lisa? Should we just pause it there? It looks like that's a lot of people have responded. So
Sure.
Okay. All right, so look what comes up as number one. I didn't know if this was going to happen or not. I suspected it, but I'm so excited that we get to really talk about this. Okay, so we have 9% saying that the work is stressful, but boy, our work is stressful. And we're going to talk about what is stress, right? What is stress? Stress is a change in the body, a physiological change in the body. And not knowing if I'm making a difference was our number one listed. Work-life balance, that is always a big one. And some of the movement that we're going to do today is there for us to start thinking about where can I integrate this in to balance out the stressors I feel either from work or from all the things going on when we get ourselves back home into our families. And then 9% was interpersonal dynamics with work and coworkers. Oh, and there's our 5 other. Okay, so do we want to go ahead and stop sharing that? And then I'm going to check the chat box for what others might have shown up. Oh, maybe not. Maybe they didn't. It was just more about the influencers. Okay, that's okay. So there were a couple others, and if you want to share with us what those are. One person was happy about their job. I should have put that on as a category. Oh my goodness, that is such a great comment. Thank you. I'm so glad about that. Maybe you can come on and share some of your nuggets too that help keep that balance for you. So it is true that one of the things that interferes for us in this caring field is not necessarily having a sense of what it is we've done that has made a difference or an impact on the many people that we get to spend time with. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my hidden influencer. It was actually a team of 12 two-year-olds, and some of the things that I have realized over time, it took me a little while to see this, but that they were really teaching me a long time ago. And none of them know. I don't even know where they are at this point, but maybe someday I'll get a chance to tell them. So just to set the stage, right out of college, I was teaching preschool and I was in charge of a classroom of 2-year-olds. There were 2 teachers, so we were totally outnumbered, and they were amazing, but they also ran the gamut with energy and emotions and all the different day-to-day things that we had to help provide them with. But what I realized at the end of the day is the skills that they have at that age are the same skills that help us manage our own stress in life. So for one, they all move every day. They all have an exercise period, recess time. And that is the reason why we're going to set aside the last 15 minutes of the first hour to do some chair movement. And no screens on required for this. But movement is really the number one way that we mediate the stress of the day and help our bodies continue to do this work. The other thing they do in preschool is they rest. They take naps. In fact, they do them in groups. They take group naps, which, we haven't even had much group activity since this whole pandemic hit. So meditation, although it's not technically sleeping or resting, it is a form of quieting ourselves down. And that is the other reason why I think I have spent so much time in this the middle part of my career here to learn more about meditation and to teach it, because it's such a fundamental way that we restore and continue to offer the challenging work that we do. They also have influenced me because they love stories and they are so good at integrating complicated ideas just by the time they take to sit and listen. And that definitely was the beginning of my interest in writing stories. But the other piece that these 2-year-olds taught me was how to really cultivate non-judgment. 2-year-olds don't judge. They don't judge each other. They are open-minded and they're full of love. And, as time goes on, experiences happen and judgments unfold for all of us. Nobody is truly free from judgment, but judgments are often sometimes some of those things that get in the way of us having a wonderful life. And tying back to It's a Wonderful Life, Jimmy Stewart or George Bailey had no sense of how he had influenced others, and it led to him totally judging himself as a failure, as not successful, and not recognizing all the things that over his life, because most of you have seen the story, but for the few of you who hadn't, he had helped almost everybody in his community financially through helping them stabilize their homes. And when his financial troubles showed up, they all reached out to take care of him. And it was the judgment of himself and the lack of awareness of how he had influenced that was interfering with him being able to be happy with what he had been doing all along. And mindfulness is often defined, there are many people who have defined it, but the 2 major definitions that I turn to, one is from Jon Kabat-Zinn, which is paying attention in a particular way on purpose, in the present moment, non-judgmentally. That's a lot. it's a lot to attend to everything going on in the moment without judgment. And Lisa is dropping these into the chat in case anybody wants these definitions for themselves. The second one that I love to reference is from Deborah Burdick, and she adds, paying attention to what is going on right here, right now, inside of us and outside of us. So that adds another layer. Because when we talk about stress, work type is stressful, which was 9% of what for us that gets in the way of enjoyment. What we're really talking about is how stress affects the body. How do we know when we're stressed, right? It's a simple question, but it's hard to answer. Some of us can tell because our heart rate, we feel our heart rate, we feel our breathing change. Maybe we feel discomfort in our gut because the gut can shut down when we're stressed. And we are holding the experience of what's changing in the body chemically in the body. So mindfulness is about recognizing the small messages that the body is giving throughout the day of our work and figuring out how to incorporate that into what we do in our own self-care so that we can keep doing this job. Because the other thing that helping others does, and I know all of you know this because you're in this line of work, is that when we offer to others, we actually feed ourselves a chemical called oxytocin, which helps us feel good about what we're doing. And it actually, we have receptors in the heart that lets the oxytocin in, which heals us from stress. This is thought of as one of the main reasons why stress is considered social. And here we have been through this past year without each other, without very many of us, which is one of the reasons why this has been so hard for all of us. So I know in my little breakout room, I heard a little bit about not being able to work with people in person and working over the Zoom, and it really has felt a little bit different. And there's a biochemical reason for that. So how do we bring our hidden influencers and the things that we have been a part of into a more conscious place in our minds? The other thing working against us here is that our brain is better at remembering the negative things. That's called the negativity bias. And that's talked a lot about in mindfulness. And negativity bias is one of the reasons why if we don't attend to positive things going on in our life, our moods tend to end up over in the negative column. So we were like in the movie It's a Wonderful Life, George Bailey could only see what was going wrong. He wasn't holding on to that good stuff that had been happening all along. So one of the basic strategies that I have been using for a long time now, and when I was telling Lisa about this when we were planning the event, it turns out that the person who influenced me to start doing this has actually shared this with Lisa as well. And we were both doing this because of one of our own hidden influencers, her name is Jean Davidson, and we're very thankful for her. But what she and I started doing many years ago when I moved to this area to work is we built folders. And this is my folder of anything anybody has ever shared with me that they felt was meaningful. And I started this, I guess it would be 16 years ago now, because it was right around the time I moved to this area from California. And I had left all my supervisors from my training years. I'd left all my colleagues from my training years. And I did land in a really lovely group here where we do meet weekly and we do support each other in our clinical work, but we still forget about what we've been up to with others. So anytime I get an email, I print it, or if I get a card, I stick it in here. And then when I am having times of doubt, You know, I'm having my George Bailey moment where what's the point? This is so stressful. Another one has ended up in the hospital. I must be an awful therapist. I can turn to this and go, okay, all right. The good stuff's harder to remember. The good stuff's harder to sink in because our brains are just designed to remember what could go wrong, because that keeps us alive, right? If we know what could go wrong, we stay safe. And that's why we believe the brain is designed that way. And it only takes 15 to 30 seconds of focusing on something for positive and neutral things to sink in. But we all need tune-ups. I need tune-ups. So I'll turn to the folder. And anytime I add something to it, of course, there's a moment too where I can go, okay, all right, I may not be perfect because no one is, but I'm doing the best I can. And I think that will really make a difference for the 41% of us that felt that one of the biggest things that was getting in the way of enjoying our work was not knowing if you're making a difference, because I guarantee you that you are. So tying back now into this culprit of judgment, it is everywhere right now, right? We can't turn on any kind of news or anything without hearing different sides of the story and noticing that there's pain in both each side. There's no right side. There are different sides of looking at things. So I wonder if we could take a quick minute and jump into the chat. What are some of the judgments that show up that might interfere with you having a wonderful life in your work? And I could be, it has something to do with work-life balance. That was 36% of the answer. And 9% was the interpersonal dynamics with coworkers and supervisors. So maybe you can share any kind of judgments that you know that you deal with in the work that you're doing. And we'll just take a minute to see if we can share a couple. I should be doing more. Oh, I bet that's a common one. I bet a lot of us feel that one. Too much work and how much time we have. I should be doing more for sure. Yep. What else? Productivity equals worth. Yeah, where do we get that? That is so prevalent in our culture. See too much negativity on feed. Yep. Work-life balance. It is interesting how watching those feeds, I mean, we want to feel connected. There's a real reason that a lot of us participate in different kinds of feeds, but it's amazing how the negativity is just one more piece. Okay, following through on projects and completing things well. Oh, client's ideology is different from mine. That is a challenging one. That definitely pushes buttons on our judgment. I don't know how I can help lack of experience. That is we all have been there. We're all there regularly. There are new things coming up in the adolescent generation right now that for some of us older folks, we definitely don't have experience around. I should be doing more at home. That's that work-life balance. So I guess one strategy that is also talked about in not just mindfulness, but cognitive behavioral treatments as well is taking a quick list of the things that you're going to aim to get done that day and making sure you're checking things off, even if they're small things, and including on that list, not just the obvious to-do things, but including on there, did I take a 5-minute break where I just turned everything off, closed my eyes, and let my body just come to rest? So if it's about productivity for you, am I doing enough? Making sure you find just a little bit of time on that list that replenishes you. And what ends up happening when we set that time aside is we actually are a lot more productive when it comes down to getting the work done anyway. We forget sometimes that we have to take our own breaks in order for us to be there for everybody else. Okay, I'm gonna go check to see if there were any last chats that came in. Nope, I think we're good. Okay, so I like to practice movement in as many situations that I can be in. And so we are gonna take some time now to do some chair movement. And I know all of you have different capacities in your own bodies. So I trust that if there's anything that I suggest that isn't right for you, just hit pause and just take that moment to do something else, or to just close your eyes and be present inside of you. We're not gonna, I don't want anybody to feel pressure to do something that isn't right for their body. But the chair movements that I have set up for us are designed to be done in an office chair. So it's okay if you have sides to your chair. And I am going to suggest, if you're comfortable, to take your shoes off. And one of the beautiful things about Zoom therapy that a lot of people have mentioned is that they can dress more comfortably, and you aren't required to wear shoes. And there's a reason I want you to take your shoes off. There's an activity that I'm going to have us try that can't be done with our shoes on. And the other reason why taking shoes off is really helpful as just a really simple activity to even tell the people you work with is that being barefoot allows for us to move our toes around, which assists in balance. And it actually sends more information throughout the whole body and the brain. And over time without shoes on can help prevent falls later on in life. And if you don't like walking around without shoes on, for all sorts of reasons why that's not comfortable for everyone, doing it while you're sitting in a chair, you can get the benefit from the movement of the feet without hurting you if your feet, and there's all sorts of reasons why people need to have their shoes with arch support and all sorts of things. So all of that is super important too. So we're going to start with our shoes off. And if you have a small object near you, maybe the size of a small piece of Lego or a marble, it could be a pencil, we're going to drop that on the floor at the end of our movement. Okay. So we're going to now take a moment to take in a couple deep breaths. So one of the most basic movements that we do all day long is breathe. And when we're sitting, there's a restriction that's happening on the lungs. So we're going to take in a couple deep breaths and imagine like a child would, when you expand your lungs, they get bigger, which means everything below the lungs is getting pushed down slightly. So it's like an internal massage. Deep breaths are very restorative, especially if you can breathe in and out through your nose. This is another small adjustment you can make throughout the day that can alleviate some physical stress from our work, which is noticing, is it coming in through the mouth or in through the nose? So just take a couple breaths again, expanding the lungs and just noticing how you're pushing those internal organs down. See if you can feel a difference just from a couple deep breaths. Super powerful. It's something you can pass along to everybody you work with. They can do this anywhere, anytime. In the car, in class, on the bus, while you're walking. We're overriding the rhythm that you were breathing in. You're taking the reins. You're moving it out of an automatic response into some control, which will also, when you exhale is longer than the inhale, it triggers a parasympathetic response, which means it starts to bring your heart rate down. Your breath and your heart rate are totally connected to each other. So this is the simplest movement ever that most of us can do without too much discomfort. Next, I'm going to have us focus on our shoulders. So we're going to lift them up and we're going to roll them back. And, you know, if you can feel one shoulder feels better than the other, great. If only one shoulder wants to move, then just move that one. Just give yourself 4 or 5 rolls. And then rest back down. And then we're going to go in the opposite direction. So now we're rolling forward. All right, I started back, now I'm rolling forward. You can't do this wrong. Do what feels best for you. And then on the last one, bringing them back down to rest. And just notice, do those shoulders feel any different than before you started? And next, I'm going to have us move our arms up into what we call a cactus position. And we're going to move our arms towards our elbows towards each other. Okay? And back out again. And then you can put your hands on your shoulders and try this again. Sometimes we call this our chicken arms, but we're helping the shoulder blades move in and out here. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and release that one. And now we're going to focus on the neck. So our necks are carrying the weight of our heads all day long. They do a lot of work and they're not meant to roll. So we're going to just move them forward and back like we're saying yes to something amazing. And we're going to do that 2 or 3 times. And then pause on your third one with your chin towards your chest. Just letting that back of the neck relax. And then we're going to come back up to neutral. And now we're going to say no. We're going to say no, moving in that direction. Imagine here that you are setting a boundary for yourself. No, I have already done 17 things today. It's okay for me to say no to this one. Add it to my list for another day. And then we're going to come back to neutral. Now I want you to look halfway. So we're sort of in between and then nod down. So we're getting a slightly different location in the back of your neck. And then back up again. And again, just this halfway distance and then a nod down. And then back up again. Our necks are so important and we often are restricting all of this area. A very common thing when we're stressed is a restriction in the shoulders and the chest. And it's part of our natural instinct to want to protect ourselves. Stress is a survival response to stay alive. So anything we can do to open this back up again sometimes is enough to bring our energy back. So now take your hands, if you can, and tuck them behind your back and see if you can interlace your fingers. So this is another chest opener. If you can't grab them, just get as close as you can. Everyone's bodies are different. So some of these are going to be easier for some of you and harder for others. And then releasing. And then we're going to do this towards the front. So you're going to interlace your fingers in front of you. And you're going to press towards your screen. And then come back again. Now take your fingers and interlace them in the awkward way. There's usually one way we always do it first, and then you're going to rotate by 1 digit and try again. You'll get a slightly different stretch there. And then back again. Now we're going to lift our arms up keeping your shoulders down, right? Arms up. And then I don't know if you can see, I'm just going to rotate my wrists. So now I'm rotating inside those shoulders. And then release. I am going to just point out that you might already notice that you feel a little warmer. So movement in the shoulder blades brings heat on very quickly. So if we were doing this a couple months ago, we would all be like, yes, we're feeling a little warmer. But it's interesting how different parts of the body give us different experiences. All right, now we're going to try a twist, and we're going to do this in our chair. So we've got our buttocks on the chair, we've got our hands here, and we're going to take one hand, move it to your knee, the opposite knee, and then just give yourself a little twist. You should be feeling this sort of in the lower part of our spine. And no over twisting, just a slight gentle twist. It's like you're peeking behind you to see what's going on. Take in a nice big deep breath while you're there, expand those lungs and give yourself that little internal massage, and then release. And then we're going to go in the other direction. So I've got my left hand on my right knee, I've got my hand back, twist, twist, twist. Take in a nice deep breath, expand the lungs. And then on the exhale, you might notice that your body has just a little more give. And then release. Couple more minutes, and then we're going to bring Lisa back on to wrap up our meeting. But there is a major muscle, our buttocks, that we tend to sit on it all day long. So I'm just going to have you take a moment to squeeze those muscles in and out. And this is something we can do throughout the day too. Our hamstrings often get very tight from sitting all day long. And if you can engage your glutes, that's going to help. And then on the last one, I want you to just imagine you're going to stand up, but don't stand up. So you engage those core muscles like you're going to stand up, but you don't. And just feel that those internal tummy muscles engage and then release. So you can see we're working our way down to the feet. Now I'm going to have you take one leg and try to lift it up to straight. You're going to feel this, you might feel this on the back of your leg and on the top of your leg, and then flex that foot. And this is going to help bring the blood back up from the legs to the rest of the body. We have a heart pump down in the lower legs. So just flexing our foot like that is helping with circulation. And then release that one. And then we're going to try the other one. Lift that leg, flex and point. Flex and point. And not everyone's going to straighten their leg. That's okay. Every body is different. So some might get halfway. You can still flex. Okay, so everybody's got their shoes off maybe, and you've put a little item on the floor, and I want you to try to pick it up with your toes. Kids love this, by the way. If you have a kid who doesn't want to clean his room, have him clean it by picking everything up with their toes. It's a super fun game. And it's really helpful for the movement of our feet. All right, what did you pick up? Maybe you can share us up if we have a few minutes before we end. But we are coming in to the end. So just take a moment and just see how you're feeling. What are you noticing? Do you notice a difference with just a simple chair series like that? Maybe if you can, you could chat that into the box. What do you notice has shifted in, I think we had 13 minutes of movement right there. What do people notice? Feel lighter, like weight has been lifted. I feel calmer. I feel less tense, more alert, more relaxed. Yeah, super. Well, I'm so glad you all gave it a try. You notice lots of tension in the back, stretching feels good. Yeah, less tense. So I think sometimes we trick ourselves into thinking that we have to do a lot to get something out of movement. And the truth of the matter is we really don't have to do a lot. It can be really simple. My body feels less tension, less tightness, breathing more fully, for sure. Okay, so it was successful for a lot of folks. I'm so thankful for that. Okay, so Lisa, I saved a few minutes for you. Did you want to share with the group what they can anticipate next?
Well, so I don't know if there's any questions that you want at this point.
That would be great if anyone has
You're
questions.
keeping, yeah. Can I ask you a question about mindful meds? What exactly is mindful meds?
Oh, okay. So what, I've got one of my little cheat sheets right here. Mindful meds is a set of strategies that is this one is actually in both books. It's End Matter for the storybooks, and it's also in the workbook for kids. So I designed this as a really simple way for kids to remember, and adults, because we're just big kids, strategies for calming the body down. So movement is number one. Movement integrates, and we just did that. We just saw what a little bit of movement does for us. Exhaling, the reason I focus on the exhale, and with kids, sometimes I call it the outhale, right? Inhale, outhale, that makes a whole lot more sense. I don't know where we got exhale, but the exhale part of our breath is the one that lowers our heart rate. So when we breathe in, our heart rate goes up slightly. When we breathe out, our heart rate goes down slightly. So when we use our own physiology to calm ourselves down, it's just the way our bodies are designed. So I teach them how to exhale. And then drinking water is the D, and drinking water, because when we get stressed, our gut can get turned off. The fight or flight response will shut the gut off. Drinking water is a very simple way to remind our body that we're safe and it's okay to return. So you can do two at once. You can get up, go for a walk, get your water, and come back, and you can have some restored feelings just from doing that. And then the last one is a squat spot. This is sometimes also referred to as like a child's pose in yoga. What you're really trying to do is bring the knees to the chest. So you can do it in a chair as well. You can lie down and lie on top of your legs, or pull your knees up to your chest if you're comfortable doing that. And it puts pressure on a vagus nerve in the heart. A lot of us have learned a lot about the vagus nerve response, and it'll lower your heart rate. So it's super helpful. You can have kids and parents develop their squat spot location in their house or in their room, and you just have your restorative items there, and you just sit for a little while, and you can feel your heart rate come down very quickly. So those are the mindful meds.
Thank you. It's 2 minutes to 1 o'clock. So anybody who needs to leave, look for an evaluation. It probably closer to 1:30. We definitely want feedback. Anybody who wants to stay, Margaret has a 15-minute meditation that she is willing to walk us through. So don't feel like you have to stay for the 15 minutes. But if you want to, we'd love to have you. And then certificates will be sent out later today too, as well as some other resources, including Margaret's web. There's a link that Margaret has to other resources, the books that she's written, and some other resources, newsletters. So thank you.
We also had one of our members of the meeting ask for the chair exercises. I would be more than happy to email out something. My notes might be legible, or I can send a copy that I know I can distribute of some examples of chair exercises if they would like that.
We also have this will be up on the YouTube channel. So what you just walked us through will also be available that way.
Okay.
I forgot to mention that we have incentives for the evaluation. We do, to try and get people to complete the evaluation. We have a gift card, but Megan's also donated a couple of one of her workbook and her new book that will also be randomly selected from completed evaluations by 5 o'clock.
Yep.
Okay, that's all I had. We still have about 19 people on, so.
Well, and the ebook is free right now. Anybody can download the ebook for free, and you're welcome to share that with anybody. So if you use any kind of device, the ebook of the new one, the Hornet and Hippo Count the Stars, which is 6 stories for children ages 4 to 10, is free to anybody.
Okay, so we're good to go, Margaret, with the meditation.
Okay. I think we had a poll we were going to run for this one, if we still have that, Lisa. I just wanted to get a sense of how many people have tried meditation before.
Okay, hold on.
So I know what maybe we've got a bunch of seasoned folks. Maybe we've got some folks who are brand new. Okay, that's great. So I think almost everybody has voted here.
So,
okay, so everybody can see that. Got lots of experience. This is so exciting. This is really making its way into our worlds everywhere. It's such a great resource for us all. So we're going to be doing a specific kind, and for those of you who are brand new, welcome, and I hope you enjoy this. And if you have any questions about it afterwards, feel free to let me know. Give me an email. This is a body scan meditation. So it's a guided form of meditation that's going to walk us through our bodies. And we're going to be, if you're comfortable, you're invited to close your eyes during this process. Our eyes are our major sensory system, so they can bring information in that can pull us out of being present inside our bodies. So often in meditation, not all, but most of them do encourage you to close your eyes if you feel safe to do so. And you can do this sitting up in your chair. I would encourage you to keep your feet flat on the floor and sitting upright. And most importantly, just be comfortable. If you're lying on the floor, you can bend your knees and pull your legs apart a little bit so your knees are resting towards each other. And that will help you keep your alertness. At any time during this practice you feel uncomfortable, make any needed adjustments until your body feels at peace. And just take a moment to notice where your body is touching the chair or the mat. Just feel the way in which the chair or the floor is holding you up. You can let your arms rest, your palms can be open. You're going to notice your fingers slightly rolling inward. It's just a natural state of our bodies. And we're going to start down at our feet. Just noticing your right big toe. And just noticing anything that is there, any temperature or pressure. And then slowly moving your attention as if you're shining a flashlight on each of these spots to your next toe and your third toe and your fourth toe, and then all the way to the pinky toe. Staying on that right foot, we're moving now into the ball of the foot and into the arch and into the heel. And just being present to how much our feet do to hold us up. And before we move on, just noticing what your breath is doing right now. Notice its natural rhythm, the rise and the fall of the chest. Notice if the breath is moving in and out through the nose or the mouth. And if you can, guide it to move in and out through the nose. When you're ready, bringing that attention now back down to your right heel, into the right ankle, where we bend and adjust. And then slowly making your way into the right calf. And then into the right knee, where you bend and stretch. And then into the right hip and the right buttocks muscle. And then making your way now all the way through the hip area and then back down to the left big toe. And we're going to work our way up. Just noticing if your mind is able to move that flashlight as I walk you through. And if it goes somewhere else, if it wanders off, that's okay. With the compassion you'd offer a small child, just bring your awareness back into the body and the spot. So we're in our left big toe, and we're going to move to the next toe, and the third toe, and the fourth toe, and into the pinky. And then moving that attention into the front ball of the foot and into the arch and the heel. And then moving into that ankle where we bend and move. Now moving into the calf. Maybe you notice the muscles and the bones as well as you come into the knee, where we bend and stretch. And then into your upper leg. And now resting in the left hip. And just noticing if there's any difference in this side of the body from the right side. And just noticing that. And tuck that information away. Now we're going to shine the light into that lower back, where we hold so much. And just take a nice deep breath into that lower back. And then slowly moving into the lower part of your gut. Noticing how this part of the body is working all the time for you. Taking in energy. And then slowly moving into the upper part of the gut. Just noticing if you're feeling any pressure there. The gut is always running. It's actually giving us heat. And then moving into the belly. Notice anything happening here. Maybe you can shine the light as if you're literally inside the belly. Just take a look around. Just being thankful of the messages the belly sends, telling us when we're full, telling us when we're ready for food. And now we're going to leave the belly. And we're going to head into the lungs, inside the rib cage, protected. Rest here for a moment to just feel the breath. See if you can feel the swing of the breath. Notice that when your lungs are almost full, that there's a gentle pause. And then just as that pause comes on, it stops, and then there's the exhale. And then there's another pause. Just a subtle pause, swinging between the inhale and the exhale. So notice what it feels like to be present to that rhythm. And now we're going to leave the lungs and we're going to head into our fingers. Starting on the right hand, starting with the thumb. See if you can shine your light all the way past each finger and then rest in your right palm. And then making your way into your wrist and into your elbow and into your shoulder. And then behind your back into those shoulder blades, moving across now from the right to the left, coming down into the left shoulder, into the left elbow, stopping at the left wrist, moving into your pinky, and into each finger, one at a time, and resting there at the left thumb and your palm. And then we're going to move our light over our heart, coming back into the chest. Just see if you can notice what the heart is doing. See if you can feel the pace of the beat. Another hidden influencer is our heart and the rhythm of our breath, always keeping us in the moment. Now coming up into the throat, where we find our voice, where we speak our truths. And then moving up into your head, into your chin, noticing where your tongue is, relaxing your tongue, into your cheeks, into your nose, into your eyes, noticing your ears, and then the forehead and all the way up to the top of your head. And then for the last final moment, taking that light that you've shined now through your entire body and imagine it moving away from you so that it can embody your whole body. The light is shining on all of you, all at once. Taking in a nice deep breath, opening your eyes when you're ready, coming back and joining us again as we get ready to say goodbye. Thank you for all of you for staying on. I hope that that brings you some joy and lightness into the rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Megan. It was really lovely.
Thank you, Lisa, for including me now twice. I appreciate it.
Thank you.